welcome to the pod, Anthony Stewart. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
So we're going to take you back to kick it off. 2001, Kingston Frontenacs. One of the things we do on this podcast, we talk about gear, we talk about culture. It gets a little niche. And one of the perks for a young OHL player is getting the new gear. You show up to Kingston, 01. What was that experience like? Almost like a kid in a candy store getting some new gear and putting on those Kingston Frontenac colors.
Yeah, I remember my first year. I think it was when CCM took over. They took over the league rights for all the equipment, and they switched from the old iTech visors to the bubble visors. So the first thing first, I was like, okay, these visors are pretty, they suck. And the helmets weren't too comfy. So it took a bit of an adjustment period, but we eventually got used to it. But when it came to equipment, I was used to hand-me-downs. So anything that I got new, I was like, you know what, it's pretty amazing. But, you'll find pictures of me online, wearing skates that were probably 3-4 years old. And I sort of continued that tradition into the, OHL and National Hockey League, where trainers had to literally, take my pair of skates and throw them in the garbage and make me break in a new pair. Because I was used to wearing those old skates and old equipment, but they said, hey, this is the big leagues now, kid. You got to start wearing new equipment.
Well, we definitely have a few fans that are the same way, so you're not alone on that one.
So when you get into that locker room, like we had another former OHLer on, and he was telling us about kind of like the feeling it is of being around, Team Canada and, the process of like making a team, getting cut and all of that stuff and how it's so unique. But what's it like being in a Team Canada dressing room? And especially for us in Canada, like the World Junior Championships at that time is everything. And that feeling that, you get while you're in there, what does that feel like to you, especially knowing that you get to wear that jersey in, a few hours?
It's definitely an amazing feeling, but I think people don't really remember or recognize that when you go to Team Canada, you're using used equipment from years past. So there's literally a huge room that you go into. You got to pick up your helmet, your gloves, and your pants. So that could be a process where, with me, I was used to my stuff. So you have to break in all this new equipment. And that was kind of frustrating. It was a bit of an adjustment period. But, you're just on such a high. You're so excited. So whatever, tinkering you have to do, it's second rate because you're just excited to be a part of the program. And the one thing I could say Canada does, once they start getting into the under 17, under 18 programs now, it's really, really, professional and amazing job that they do on a day-to-day basis, and they treat everybody like pros. So I'd like to see that trickle down to the minor hockey, but that's a conversation for another podcast. But anytime you get a chance to represent your country, it's amazing. And again, I've played with guys that have go on to win Olympic gold medals, but we have a special connection with every single player on that World Junior team that we won the gold in Grand Forks in 2005.
See, it's cool that you bring that up because you would think that for Team Canada, even the World Junior program, that it wouldn't be like, these are the pants you got to wear, like, go try them on. Like, somebody wore them last year, just see how they fit. Because, like, nowadays, like, me and Steve seen it firsthand, you get, like, 10-year-olds on a single A team and, like, okay, here's your custom pants and here's what you're getting. And it's junior medium +1. And then it's like, you got Crosby, Anthony Stewart, and you're like, here, guys, somebody wore this last year. Chuck it on. Does it fit? Awesome. You're on the team. Get out of here. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, you're just happy to be there. And I remember, I think it was under 18 where we'd always have, Belarus or Kazakhstan watching our practices. We're like, why are they watching our practices? Because they're waiting for us to break our sticks and throw them over the glass. So they grab them and take and make, two pieces out of them. So that was pretty interesting where, you get a glimpse of how it is on the other side of the world where they're grateful for a broken, one piece so they can turn into a two-piece.
Well, that was my first synergy. It was broken. A two-piece synergy.
Yeah.
Speaking of that 05 team, the likes of Crosby, Getzlaf, Bergeron, Perry, the list goes on. You were a force on that team. Going into 05, it was like a sense of redemption. What was the culture or the mindset like in that locker room heading into that tournament? Did you guys feel like you were going to go out there and not only outskill, but beat teams up and run them over?
Yeah, with that team in 05, we were sort of cocky going, the year before, where we're young guys. Majority of the team are underage players, and we were all first-round draft picks. And we were supposed to beat the U.S. pretty easily. We're beating them 3-1 after 2 periods, but guys were sort of in party mode, worrying about what we're going to do afterwards. So, I think Team Canada did an amazing job in recognizing the type of coach we needed for that tournament in 05, and they brought in Brent Sutter. And, first things first, he threatened to cut me. So he got me in because he knew I was probably the ringleader of the charade. So him, wanting to be, mean business, he sort of came to me day one saying, hey, we mean business here. We're going to win this gold here, and we need you to sort of fall in line. So from day one, the tone was set with regards to our goal. And the rest was history just based on that. We ran through the whole entire tournament. I think we scored 40 goals for and led in 6 or 8 the whole entire tournament. So not saying it was a breeze, but we were focused and we were going there to win gold. And every single game, it wasn't even close. And just seeing guys like Dion Phaneuf and seeing Crosby and Bergeron come down from the National Hockey League and dominate, just to be a part of that. I had a big role in that team, but just to be a part of that and seeing these guys, I remember like it was yesterday.
And it's funny you mentioned that because, like, being a personality, you guys had probably one of the guys who we know least about his personality, like Sidney Crosby on that team, who's kind like, I feel like for us hockey fans, he's like this legend in the sense of like his just who he is. Like, we all know what player he is on the ice, but it's like he's this Jedi that nobody can understand unless you get an inside look to him. Like, in comparison to a guy like you, like, what did you notice was so unique of him, and especially him being such a young guy on that team? Did he have a lot of that, that uniqueness that stood out for a guy like you and the older guys that paid attention to him when he was around?
It was amazing because I think he was a triple underager, and he was, 15 years old playing against men. So seeing him on the first year, I think he was, 3rd or 4th line, and he was kind of quiet. And, there's pictures of me sort of putting my arm around him, trying to make him feel part of the group because he didn't necessarily feel like, because he was so young and it was a men's tournament. But just seeing him the next year come in and just dominate. And I'm like, hey, you were like Sid the Kid last year. Now you're the man, the best player in the world. I was like, who is this guy? But people don't really know that Sid, he likes to chirp. He's got a really good personality, really funny guy behind the scenes. He's not a big party guy in any sense of the word, but just being around him, he's got his aura, he's got that presence. And, every time, we interviewed him, on our show, but I won't mention the network because it's probably competing with you. But
no, you can. Don't worry. Go for it.
I thought he was going to sort of be a little bit too cool for school, but he remembered every single moment that I brought up from that World Junior team, and that was 15 years ago. So that just shows, what type of person he is. But great personality, great player. Excuse me, and I think he's going to go down and probably one of the best, hockey players of all time.
And something unique I saw about like that team specifically was, and something I always kind of revere about it because it's so Canadian, was we all knew there was that heated rivalry between a guy like Corey Perry and Mike Richards, but that team came together and pushed back when one or the other was pushed down. How does that fuel or drive a room? Because you have Richards as the captain, and then he has a rivalry with one of the best players on the team as well. And you guys have to become a cohesive unit so quickly. And like you said, Brent Sutter is not going to take any BS from anybody. So how does that work to build such a chemistry so quickly and succeed at a common goal?
Well, I think that the good thing about that team was, and I think, Team Canada's, they sort of have to take that blueprint. You can't just take the best players. You got to get players that sort of match and fit roles. And we had players that, went on to have pretty good NHL careers, but as 3rd line, 4th line guys, we had Clark MacArthur, who had a pretty good career. We had Fraser on the team as well. So we had all these guys that had, weren't just superstars, goal scorers. They fit in. So, but what is amazing about that too is even though you compete against each other, you know each other. You train with each other in the off season. You came up together under 17, under 18. So I played, probably 2-3 tournaments with Dion Phaneuf, before we even played a World Junior team, right? I played with Richards and Perry under 16. under 17 program. So you come up through that system where that makes it easier transition when you get to that World Junior level.